All right, welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 240. It is the 12th of June, 2019. And man, we are just rolling through the months. It's hard to believe it's already June, but here it is. Before you know it, it's going to be October, and there's something going on in October. I think it's POFU Live. So we're going to be in Denver the 12th and 13th, and we will be starting to sell tickets soon. Not quite yet, but we are going to have tickets coming out for POFU Live. If you want to join us, there's going to be a limited opportunity to get your hands on an early bird discount. We had a couple people take us up on that last year. It's going to be even more important this year to do that. Limited numbers, and don't want to miss out on that. So we'll have some more information about that. But real quick, want to say hi to everybody. Hernan's got this big grin on his face. So you know what, Hernan, I'm going to start with you. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, dude? I'm good. I'm excited about POFU Live. POFU Live 2018 was a huge success, and it was like mind-blowing the amount of value that we shared. Not only us as a team, but the rest of the crew. You know, it was pretty cool. And so yeah, we're planning to make it even better this year. So if you couldn't make it last year, make sure that you save that on your calendar, because it's gonna be pretty awesome. So good, man. Happy to be here.
Cool. All right, well, Chris, back to you. You usually start with Chris, but yeah, just turn on looked hot to go, so I had to start with him.
All good. Yeah, super excited here as well. Like finally, we're gonna let a couple of things loose on how to print money on POFU, you know?
All right.
Sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned that.
Sounds good. Chris has always got some sneaky stuff. If you guys missed it, his post in our SEO and tutorials group, the Semantic Mastery group, that kind of blew up. You might have to repost that again, or is that still possible for people to get access to, the thing you shared?
Yeah, it should be possible.
All right.
We'll bump it.
All right. Well, we'll put the link in, everybody, if you're watching. If you haven't joined our free Facebook group, by all means, hop in there. And that's where you can find stuff like that. So, Marco, how you doing, man?
He must be muted again.
He's already printing money.
That's Marco saying hello. So we'll come back. Marco, just holler if you get your mic. It sounds like you had some connection issues there. So, Bradley, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to multitask, so sorry, but yeah, I'm good. I'm excited about several things. Tomorrow is a mastermind webinar. Well, first, I'm excited about POFU Live 2019. Absolutely. It's going to be in Denver, like you said. I think that's going to be cool. I've never been. I have an uncle that lives there, which is going to be cool to go see him. I've been telling him for years that I was going to go visit him in Denver. It's also supposed to be a really cool city. So I'm actually excited to go out there for that, but also the training and everything else. Last year was good. It was our first live event, but I'm excited about this year because it's going to be slightly, obviously different kind of subject matter and that kind of stuff. And I'm really, really excited about my new business. And I'm going to be talking a lot about kind of implementing a passion project. So I think that's my main topic going to be for that. That said, tomorrow is a mastermind webinar, and I'm really excited about that as well, because I'm going to be going into that, the new business model a bit deeper. I've had a lot of people asking about it. So I'm going to kind of reveal more and more about it tomorrow, specifically what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of money in this business, and it's relatively simple or easy compared to a lot of other digital marketing stuff. So anyways, I'm going to be talking about that more in the mastermind tomorrow, as well as getting into a lot of different member questions, various stuff too. We've got a lot of really good questions this week that we're going to dig into. Although I'm going to be almost flying solo tomorrow because Mark is not going to be there, which he's usually my sidekick for the.
Well, hell, I'm not showing up now. If you're going to be basic,
no, I'm just saying, yeah, don't get butt hurt. No, but usually Mark is my co-host over there, and he's not going to be there. But and then so I asked Hernan if he'd come, and Hernan said he's going to be traveling. So I was like, shit. Adam said he'd join me, so I am going to have some moral support, and I appreciate that, Adam. But yeah, it's going to be good, and I'm excited to be here. We've got a couple good questions today as well. So when you're done with announcements, we'll get right into it.
I got a couple more, man. I got some good stuff. Marco, are you there? Okay, still issues. So what I wanted to say too, Bradley was writing an email, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what he was writing, but we are talking with Jeremy over at Press Advantage, and he's got some really cool updates to the platform. that he's had. If anyone has been involved with Local Lease Pro, if you've been using press releases for your own other stuff, if you've gone through Local PR Pro, or you're just interested in finding out how much power this stuff can drive and what's going on over there, we're going to be setting up a webinar with him later in June. So definitely stay tuned. If you're not signed up yet on our email list, you can do that on the page below. Or if you're watching the replay, you can follow one of the links to the website and get signed up. But you're not going to want to miss that.
Yeah, last time we did it, you know, I don't know. It's likely that same offer won't be available because that was ridiculously good. But it's still going to be a really good offer. And Press Advantage has got a lot of new features that they've implemented in the last few months. And in part, Jeremy and I consult all the time. And so he's asked me on several occasions for feature requests, and I've given them to him, and he's implemented a lot of them. I was actually just trying to reply to him now about another one. So yeah, it's a really good service. I still use it as almost exclusively. I use a couple other services as well, but I use that one as my primary press release service. And that's what we also resell in MGYB. So definitely you guys want to get signed up for that one when that's available.
Definitely. Real quick too, I wanted to swing back to POFU Live. We've got one confirmed guest so far, but I'm going to hold on to that. We're also trying to convince Mr. Rob Beal to come join us. So those of you who know him through RYS Reloaded, maybe through Hump Day Hangouts or through MGYB or in the groups, if you guys know or have interacted with him and you're watching today, if you could just type in the chat box, Rob Beal, go to POFU Live, that would help me out. I'm going to take some screenshots. So we're going to make sure he goes. We're going to, we got a couple other great surprise guests that we're going to look into announcing later down the line as we get them lined up. And other than that, if you're watching us for the first time and you're not sure about POFU Live, that's okay. Just stay tuned and we'll fill you in as time goes on. But keep coming back. You're in the right place. Hump Day Hangouts is the place to go. Beyond that, if you want to get started, the best place is the Battle Plan. Go to battleplan.semanticmastery.com. And if you're either looking to start or you want to grow your existing digital marketing agency, then our mastermind is the place to be. It's not just instructions and, hey, do this, but it's also the powerful network and the peer connections and the groups you form within that. So go check out that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And then for those of you who know that done-for-you services can save you a hell of a lot of time, money, and effort, MGYB.co is a place to go for your premium done-for-you SEO services. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, checking out the replay or whatever it is, if you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you find something useful, let us know, leave a comment, and share it with somebody who might find it helpful. Other than that, I think that's it, guys. Anything before we dive into it?
All right.
2, 1. All right, let's do it.
Take that as a no. Marco is just going to be here watching, lurking in the background. He'll probably yell at me. He's going to yell at me in Slack with all caps and stuff if I screw up a question that you should be answering. So Marco, I would reboot if I were you and see if you can get it to work. Anyways, why does this keep telling me to reconnect? All right, let's try it again. Stand by for a minute. Mohammed's up first. There we go. He says, hey guys, I'm close to signing a client who wants national SEO done for his insurance leads business. To say that's competitive would be an understatement. You're right about that. But I've been following SM long enough to know where to start. He seems on board, but his big concern is tracking and analytics. Given that he's national, what's the best way to track his results? My go-to is usually Search Console and GMB, but he doesn't want to do local. Should I add a rank tracker, even though those aren't typically precise anymore? Well, yeah, I mean, I would still have a rank tracker on there. I still provide rank tracking reports from all my clients anyways, but I've explained to all of them that they're not entirely accurate. It's because of, you know, the nature of mobile. And you know that, Mohammed, besides not only just mobile, but also because of Google really trying to start pushing more personalized results. So two people that could be standing side by side looking at their mobile device for the same search query could see or are likely going to see different results, similar but different results. And that's because of past search history and all of that stuff as well. So again, I preface sending the reports to my clients, the rank reports, with this is kind of a indication of your ranking, not an actual like exact measurement of where your keyword or your pages are ranked for specific keywords. So keep that in mind. But I would do, honestly, Mohammed, I would have more I would suggest more tracking through analytics or providing reporting through analytics and showing an increase of traffic, and also conversion tracking, that kind of stuff. Like you can set up analytics events, conversion tracking events essentially, and you can do all that kind of stuff with like Tag Manager, Tag Manager and analytics combined, which there's a great school or a training program or training videos and all that stuff by this. He's an analytics and a data nerd, but he's really good. His name is Julian, I think it is, from Measure School. So if you go to Measure School, excuse me if I can type correctly, measureschool.com. It's this guy here. Let's see, how do you close out of this damn thing? Let's see, if you go to learn at the bottom, there you go. He's got a great YouTube channel and a blog where he basically just posts his YouTube channels. Google Tag Manager beginners course, Google Analytics for beginners course. This is where I learned how to use Tag Manager from this right here. And he's also got some courses on Udemy or whatever the hell you call it, and I think right now they got deals for like $9.99 for courses and stuff like that. So if you need advanced courses and stuff, he's got them on the Udemy platform. And I think, like I said, they're like $10 right now. So I would highly recommend going and checking out measureschool.com to learn how to set up analytics and event tracking and all that. Like I every time I need to set up special like event tracks and event tracking, things like that, I usually have to go to a training to figure it out, because it's not like, I'm not an analytics nerd. I use it for a very basic purpose, but sometimes I do have to put, monitor certain things like scroll depth, for example, or certain button clicks and things like that. And so I usually have to go just review some of this training to figure out how to do it. So just so you know, that's what I would recommend that you do. And I would use that more as a metric than rank trackers would be, right? Because you can do all kinds of cool things with Tag Manager and analytics, like show if somebody clicks on buttons, or if they obviously submit a form, or if they tap to call, if it's on a mobile device and they tap to call a phone number that's listed on the page. Like you can set it up to actually record those as, specific events, like conversion tracking events, if you want to record it that way or whatever. And so all of those different things you can set up. And that's what I would learn how to do for a national client now. Because that's something that you could show as that, like, who gives a shit about rankings, right? Like, really, who cares about rankings? I know we as SEOs like to see that stuff, but really the bottom line is leads and revenue. And if you can show with quantifiable data that you're getting them more traffic and obviously more, eventually more, ultimately more leads, I should say, then that's really what's important, not the rankings, right? So, okay, anybody want else to add to that?
I agree with you, Bradley.
Okay, sweet. Question number 2. I had this real estate client in the beginning of the year, but I lost him in March. Just before we parted ways, I got an MGYB RYS Stack delivered and blasted it with links from Dedhia, which is our link building service in MGYB as well. In the months since, they ended up getting a new site made, one of those industry template real estate ones. Yeah, I don't like any of those, but I know what you're talking about. Anyway, I just found that I still have access to their Search Console, and the traffic has absolutely skyrocketed, like 8 times as much clicks and impressions. It just keeps going up. The rise started in April, around a month and a half after I had left, and it hadn't stopped. Could their meteoric rise really have been from the Stack+Links? Yeah, it could have very well been, Mohammed, because like you said, just before you parted ways in March, you had ordered and had delivered an MGYB Drive Stack, right? And that's the thing about Drive Stacks, guys, is especially if you do what you did, which is what we recommend, is to build links to them after you get the stack delivered. It can take several weeks before you start to see any significant results, but almost always you see results, and sometimes it's really significant results. And so again, it's like there's like a delayed reaction. It doesn't happen really quickly, and that's why a lot of people, I think, they buy Drive Stacks and they don't see a movement right away, and they don't build links to them and such, and they say, oh well, this shit doesn't work. No, if you do what we suggest, typically you're going to see it move the needle for sure, and sometimes significantly. And so in my opinion, obviously they could be doing other stuff as well. If you're not doing SEO for them anymore, maybe they got somebody else doing SEO that's doing well for them, maybe. but it's very likely that a lot of the stack in the links that you built to that just took a long time for it to kick in, but it has significantly improved their results and traffic and everything else, right? Do I hear somebody trying to comment?
I think it's Marco squirming to to go ahead and comment on that. So it might be him.
Marco, are you available?
Did my microphone come back?
Fucking A, I can hear you, man.
Oh, what the fuck, man? 15 minutes fiddling with the fucker.
You need time for a new mic. But so yeah, I mean, what I would honestly, if your Drive Stack in your in the link building had a significant effect on rankings, like if it really pushed it up in the rankings, then that's naturally you're going to get more traffic from that. More traffic and more clicks, right? More impressions, more clicks, and you'll see that in Search Console. So I think that very well likely could be that. I mean, there could be other factors that you're unaware of too, but I wouldn't discount that as being one of the primary factors. Marco, what say you?
That's a good way to know if you still have access to that Drive Stack. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it to private. Stop all the juice from flowing and see what effect it has.
You could do that. You could do that. All right. Good question though. Next one. Jason says, hey guys, quick question. Which would perform better for a new GMB listing, a PO box with a street address or a co-working location with a street address? My thought is while getting an address at a co-working spot is a bit more expensive, couldn't you use citations with co-working spot because it's a real business address and could even pass a manual Google review? Thanks. I don't know, because I still haven't had any issues using PO boxes, guys. In fact, like I said, for some, I still use PO boxes from time to time for some of the tree service sites, specifically for the one brand, my primary tree service brand, because I like being able to build citations. And so I still use the PO box method, and I don't have any issues. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I actually took a screenshot from my Gmail inbox with the filter for that particular client, because I get an email notification from Answer Connect, which is the call center that I use to take all the lead information from calls. And I set up a screenshot of just showing the calls coming in for that one particular client. We've got, I don't know, almost 24 locations for him now, but it's insane. It's like in the last 7 days, he's had 36 calls, tree service calls. And it's crazy because he calls me about once a week to pay me. And it's really good money. I can tell you that it's really, really good money for the amount of leads that we're generating. So, and I haven't had any issues with the PO boxes. I've honest to God, I haven't had any of those suspended at all. I have had some of the verified GMBs suspended that are the ones that I don't recommend building citations to, because you don't know where that address is, or you can't go retrieve the mail, is what I'm saying. I've said that on multiple occasions, guys. If you're going to build citations, you need to be able to retrieve physical mail from that location, because you're going to get put on mailing lists. The business will get put on mailing lists, and mail for solicitation offers from like Vistaprint and all kinds of different marketing type mail messages will get sent, or mail pieces will get sent to that address that you register with your citations, and it will have your business's name on it, right, for that location. And so you can get reported and get for complaints essentially for not having mail being sent to for a business that doesn't exist there. And that's a great way to get your GMB suspended. So I don't recommend you doing citations if they're spammed addresses. But in your case, you're talking about getting an address in one of two locations, either PO box or a co-working spot. I've not had any issues with using PO boxes personally. So I prefer that method because it's a hell of a lot cheaper. But, you can always test it and see if you want. If you feel more comfortable doing that, then go for it. Okay. It's a good question, though, Jason. Gordon's up. He says, hey, guys, thank you so much for your Hump Day. Help doesn't seem to be really enough, or saying thank you, for saying thank you for your Hump Day help doesn't seem to really be enough, but just know that it's super big thank you. You're welcome, Gordon. We appreciate you. He says, I had previously asked a question about creating a fake GMB listing, but I was not clear enough when I asked it, so I'll give it another shot and try to do better. I think Google allows anyone to create a GMB listing if they don't see one for a business they're searching for, but I could be wrong about that. So if you create a fake new GMB listing using a fake suite number and the address of a real virtual office building complex, and you never intend to claim it or verify it, just use it as an unverified listing to help boost a local lead gen site's search engine rank. Will Google accept and publish the new listing without you having to verify the address or having Google check anything out at all? Thanks again. No. And that's what I was saying last week. It used to be where you could, whenever you would create a GMB listing, it would publish, but you couldn't edit or use any of the additional tools like GMB posts, GMB websites. You couldn't really add photos or anything like that. You could publish you could enter in the business information, name, address, phone number, in the primary category, and then it would publish an index, but you had to verify it before you could edit it or do anything else, like add photos and all that kind of stuff. But Google stopped that probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. Somewhere around a year ago, they stopped that, to where now when you go to register a GMB, it will not publish until you verified it, period. So you can go in and create a GMB, but it'll say, okay, where to send the postcard, or it'll do it by phone sometimes, but very, very rarely. And it will say where to send the postcard. And if you give it the address and tell it, send it here, and you don't ever go get the postcard, it'll just say pending verification inside the GMB dashboard, and it won't publish. You won't be able to find it on Google, period. So it won't have any beneficial effect for you, because you still won't be able to use any of the tools like GMB posts and all that stuff, because none of those features are unlocked until it's been verified, and it doesn't publish until it's been verified. So really, that's just a complete waste of time now. So to answer your question, no, just that would not help you. If you can get it verified, then yes, you could do it. But if you can't get it verified, it's unpublished, it's not going to help you.
There's a red exclamation point that stays on there that says verification required.
Correct. Yep.
And then right next to that, in blue, it says verify now. If you don't do that, then no, it's not going to be published.
That's correct. So Joel's up. He says, hey, question, does an iframe with backlinks give better results? Like a YouTube embed video that has backlinks to it, does it help every property that the video is embedded on? Okay. I'll give you my initial answer, and then I'll let Marco clarify it, because he's the iframe expert. If you have a video embedded on a page and you send backlinks to that, or anything embedded, right? GMB map, anything iframed onto a page, and then you send backlinks to that page, it's going to benefit that iframe for sure. Now, if that same iframe is embedded on other pages and you only send links to the one page, I don't know that it benefits those other pages any, but Marco, can you answer that?
No, it wouldn't. You'd have to send links to every site, page, whatever, where that iframe is embedded, right? Because the iframe is coded so that source equals and whatever the source is. A YouTube video, the source is YouTube. You are going to get some bounce back to the embed site, but you won't get bounce back to any of the other embeds sites because they're not connected.
It doesn't flow through it to those pages.
No, how can it?
Right.
How can it? Because you're going through the embed, that would be the embed destination to the embed source, and the flow will be back and forth between those two. It's I don't want to get too technical, but it's two nodes, and the link that connects those two nodes is that embed code. And so how does Google know to benefit one and not the other? Well, you're telling it. It knows where that iframe is embedded, and it knows what the source is because it's telling it to credit the source. And so that's how that works. You would have to do link building to all of the others, and I would just say contact Dedhia, because if you have him do the link building and the embedding, then he knows what to hit.
There you go. So yeah, so I would say no. I mean, honestly, if you're going to build links to the page, then that's great. If you got multiple pages that it's embedded on, which is what we for example, we have the embed service in MGYB, and then you could actually build links to the embeds. That's like an upgrade, right? An add-on service. And what we do at that point is wherever the video is embedded, those now pages get sent to a link building campaign, and we build links to all of those pages. So, but yeah, that's, I wanted your clarification, Marco. Fitz is up. He says, good day, gents. Thank you for this forum to get real questions answered with what works now. When creating a PR stack with a video, does the second PR in the stack need to be from the same video, or do you need to change to another video, or won't it matter with more links, the better to one video? Thank you in advance. Well, I'm not really sure I understand that question. When you create a PR stack with a video, okay, so a video, I guess, embedded in a PR or linked to from within the PR. Either way, I think is what you're talking about. In the stack, does it need to be from the same video? See, that's what I'm not understanding. You don't get unless you're using some sort of a service that creates a press release out of a video. I'm not sure if I'm reading it incorrectly or just misinterpreting it. But if you're trying to boost a video with press releases as part of and using press release stacking, then it doesn't matter if you're using the same video and two press releases, except that the press releases should be, the content around the video should be unique, right? That's pretty important. So if you're using like our service, for example, each time it gets written, it's going to be an original press release, but you can use the same video more than once. Like you can embed it. By the way, we can embed videos now in press releases in our service, guys, just in case, or YouTube videos anyways. So you can embed a video into the same video into two different press releases. That's fine. And if you're stacking, it doesn't matter either, because let's say PR1, you've got the video embedded in it. And then in PR2, you've also got the video embedded in it, but it's linking to PR1. One of the links within the PR is linking to PR1. That's perfectly fine too. And in fact, that's pretty powerful because that is the PR stack. You see what I'm saying? And so that works as well too. It doesn't need to be a unique video if that's what you're asking. Okay. However, remember, you could use the YouTube silo method, right? And you could have a secondary video that's put into a playlist that is siloed together. And then in that second PR, use the secondary video and also link to the playlist, right? And that could also help to boost it too. If you're trying to boost a video, that's a great way to do it, right? Use the playlist, guys. Use the YouTube silo method. It's really powerful. We're actually going to be talking about that in the mastermind tomorrow. Damon, one of our longtime members, had some questions about video SEO, and we're going to talk about some of that tomorrow. So, all right. Pum Pum says, what is required for someone to do after the Drive Stack is complete? I plan on buying one. Well, like we just talked about, one of the best things you can do is link building to it. If you've got siloed architecture on your website or your asset period, it doesn't have to be like a self-hosted website. Then we always talk about going in and manually creating mirrors, like theme mirroring, essentially creating folders and files to mirror the theme or the silo structure on your website. That's something you have to do. We cannot do that for you, at least not yet. It's something we may be able to do in a few months after our relaunch or anniversary date of RYS Academy, but that's not something we can do currently. So again, getting the base Drive Stack built is incredibly important because that's like the foundation of everything. But you can go in and theme mirror, right? So build additional files and folders and files that are built just like your silo structure would be. Keep your theming tight within your silos, and then build links to everything, right? One of the things I do recommend, and we just covered this on Monday, Marco and I did when we did the Drive Stack or the best practices for Drive Stack webinar in MGYB, which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen that yet, go to mgyb.co/store/webinar, and you can catch the replay. And Marco and I were on there for about 90 minutes talking about how to get the most power out of Drive Stacks, right? And one of the things to do is if you're using syndication networks, which should be a foundational should be foundational, right? You should always have, at least according to what we teach and what works for us, having a syndication network is absolutely critical. And so if you have a syndication network for whether it's a YouTube video or YouTube channel or for a branded website, it doesn't matter. The point is if you're going to get a Drive Stack, if you have a syndication network, include those links in your Drive Stack order to all of your syndication network properties, because all you want to make that additional entity validation. Right? You want all of those things to be included in the Drive Stack. So once you've done that, Then you would get the drive stack completed and returned, go in and mirror silo structure if you have it. If you don't, you might want to consider that, and then order links to it. Marco, you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I'd say just go watch the webinar, and then when you're done, go order your drive stack. When you order the drive stack and it gets delivered to you, you're going to get the done for you users guide, which tells you exactly what you need to do.
That's right. Okay. I'm still trying to multitask and reply to Jeremy. He's asking me questions about feature updates. All right. Next is, yeah, look, everybody's saying Rob Beal, Denver. So Rob's going. He doesn't have a choice. Suggest any sites you guys have used successfully for getting user feedback on A/B page testing. Suggest any sites you guys have had successfully for getting user feedback on A/B page testing. You mean split testing pages? I mean, Clickfunnels does that, but that's more of a, you know, you can track conversions and stuff. I know I haven't done any of the conversion optimization stuff like this, what you're talking about here, but I know we use Hotjar too for like heat mapping and stuff like that. I know Adam handles a lot of that stuff. So
yeah, Greg, it would just depend exactly what you need, because I know some of that stuff can get pretty wild in terms of pricing, like Optimizely and VWO. But yeah, I mean, Hotjar, if you need to actually see stuff, and then beyond that, if you're just tracking like links through, you know, it's just finding something good that works for you, like Improvely or any other decent link tracker with some sort of good data analysis set.
Yeah. Okay, so just good on-page SEO and good RYS Drive Stack be a good idea to rank? Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, we always talk about SEO Bootcamp because Jeffrey Smith's course is just it's fabulous. What he's able to do with on-page SEO is unparalleled in the industry. I mean, I have never seen somebody be able to rank, like, outrank authority sites with zero or next to no backlinks, little or no backlinks. But he's able to do it. By the way, he structures his on page. It's incredibly powerful. And so SEO Bootcamp, if you haven't heard of it, guys, if you want to learn how to do on page to where you can like crush any one of your competitors, if you go through it and apply it, and then if you're doing any off-page stuff, it only requires a fraction of what you would typically need in a competitive market to get results if you have your on-page correct. So if you build your on-page correctly, you structure your site correctly, and then you mirror that with a drive stack, you've got 90% of your work done, right? Then you could do some of the other stuff like, you know, link building to the drive stack, some press releases, you know, you could run some traffic into it. You could do several different things to actually get even better results. But what I'm saying is if, you know, absolutely good on-page SEO and a good drive stack where it's mirrored to your on-page, right? So it has similar structure and you keep the theming tight. Again, just like Marco said, just go watch that replay that we just had on Monday. It explains exactly how to do that. And then from there, you'll only need a fraction of the off-page work to be able to get the kind of results that you desire.
All right, can I please clarify that, because that's an it depends.
Well, it is an it depends. Yeah.
That's an it depends, because if you're trying to rank for gold, then just good on-page SEO and a good RYS Drive Stack won't do it. I mean, the test site that we showed on Monday, right? Major metropolitan area, Washington, D.C., highly competitive niche, plumbing, and it didn't just take a good site and a drive stack. It took a whole lot more. But what happens then is that when all of that hits, the thing just sticks. It stays. And to this day, after doing absolutely nothing for almost 2 years, well, it's 2 years now because it's June, and we started, I think, around May of 2015 to getting ready to add to what then became RYS Academy Reloaded. I mean, that was the thing. We just wanted to see how much abuse is this thing going to take and rank, and it took everything. But I've seen other people try to rank in highly competitive niches with just a website and a drive stack, and like you have to have content on that website. It has to be siloed correctly. It has to be siloed according to I would say Ultimate SEO Bootcamp and what Jeffrey Smith teaches, and then you copy that onto the G site, and then you hit all that with whatever you have at your disposal, whether it's, well, you have press releases, which we offer at MGYB.co. You have link building from Dedhia, who helped us with the test, at MGYB.co. I mean, everything is done for you there. So that's the great thing, that you can have the same thing that we use to rank for DC Plumber.
Yeah.
So that's what I would add. I mean, that's a good start for like low-hanging fruit. But if you're going for that top level category, that monster that's going to give you all that traffic, sometimes you're going to need more.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was pretty clear about on-page SEO. Yes, if you're doing on-page SEO correctly, which again, just traditional on-page SEO isn't going to do it. But if you were to build an authority type site the way that Jeffrey Smith does, with semantic entity relationships and all this stuff that he does with word lift, and like, I mean, it's absolutely insane what he does. And then you have an RYS Drive Stack as well. That, like I said, it'd get you well on your way to getting the results that you desire. But you still are going to likely going to need off page. If you're just doing traditional, what you've been taught or heard around the web on page SEO, that's not going to cut it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are absolutely going to need more. That's still a good start, but you would still need a lot of off page too. But what I'm saying is, if you have a site structured and built like the way that Jeffrey Smith teaches, and then you have a drive stack that is mirrored and built very, essentially just like your website, as well as your G site and everything else. Now you've got, you're, like I said, probably 90% of the way there. You can get, with a fraction of the off page, you can get really, really good results. So hopefully that was clear. Fitz says, I wrote my question incorrectly and you answered it perfectly. Thanks for understanding my crazy. You're welcome, Fitz. Jill says, regarding my question about the video embedding having backlinks, does it help get better rankings? I meant specifically, if you send backlinks to the YouTube video, then embed that video on a page, will that page benefit better because that YouTube video has backlinks? So sending links to the video, not the page. Not that I'm aware of. I haven't tested that specifically, but usually I've not seen having a video on a page that has been boosted help the page that much. But again, it's not something that I've specifically tested. Anybody want to comment on that?
I would say that having a video on the page, whether it has links or not, does benefit. I mean, yes. It's a Google property, and if it's related and it has traffic and it gets some viewer action on the website, yes, of course you're going to benefit from it, just from it being YouTube. Are you going to benefit then from link building to the video? I haven't tested that, but I would say, from having done just so many iframes over the years, and how I see it work and how the pattern works, right? I would say that it has to be the other way around. It has to be embedded somewhere, and you have to hit that embed with links in order for you to get the bounce back from the authority site, not the other way around. You're not going to get the bounce from the authority site just because the authority site has links.
Yeah, because I would be passing link juice from YouTube to the page,
and that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
not unless it's iframed, right? Yeah. And the link building goes from the destination back to the source. So
again, I've not tested that. I mean, if it's irrelevant, having YouTube video, if it's relevant on a page, does, that's a good signal. It's also good for visitors, which creates more better engagement signals, because people will typically watch a video, and if it's relevant, at least they'll click the play button. That's a good signal for the page, but that's not strictly like a link juice thing, right? So building links to the video and then embedding that video on a page, I don't see how that would actually help the page, other than how a video would typically help a page anyways. But I have not tested that specifically. Joel, that's a good question. That'd be interesting for you to set up a test. Guys, if we don't know the answer, that's typically what we do, is set up a test, and we encourage you to do the same thing. I mean, you're not going to hurt the page by building links to a video and then embedding the video, so why not test it? See? Okay, there you go. Thanks, Adam, for posting that. And guys, we're almost out of questions, which means we might just have to wrap it up early, so that's hard to believe, but okay. Greg says, thanks, guys. Nice to see you all. Fitz says, would you consider map embeds from sellers on Fiverr? No, I mean, I guess if you didn't have anything else, then sure. I mean, I typically don't use Fiverr gigs for anything like that. I have done some like traffic gigs for specific stuff where I was doing tests, but I don't typically recommend Fiverr gigs for SEO stuff because they get used the same things get used by so many people. So there's like a footprint, so to speak, right? Again, I don't know. I haven't tested Fiverr gigs for map embeds, so I don't know. If you had nothing else to use, then I would say, you know, try it. But maybe Marco can comment on it. But my point is, you know, we have embed service in MGYB, and we know who's built that. And we have, you know, Dedhia, our man, who's been building stuff. Well, he, you know, started out working for me like back in, I think, 2012 or 13. And he's been building embed networks, Web 2.0 embed networks that are themed, that some of those are 3 and 4 years old. And I mean, hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million properties now that are available in themed networks. So they're aged and themed Web 2.0 embed networks and link building networks that he's built. And so I think you're better off using something like that than just going to a Fiverr gig where it's likely that it's been spammed to death by all the other users, right? Because a lot of those guys, think about it, they're only making $5 per gig or whatever they charge now. Sometimes it's more. But they're not making a lot of money to do that. And so do you think they put a shit ton of effort into it? I honestly, I can't really answer that, but my assumption would be no. Go ahead.
We have a Dedhia, and we have a Dedhia for a reason. We use Dedhia. It's not as if we just offer his services to you guys, period. We use his services. We recruit him to come and do, look, hit this, link build to this. I need an embed gig for this. And what he's done over the years, I mean, last time I talked to him about his embed network, which is a couple of years ago, he was at 1 million. I would bet that he's, you know, he's done multiple times that right now. And what he did is when we talked about it, I told you have to theme it, and you have to go by category. You have to try to add niches and sub niches. And this is exactly what he went and did. So when you go and offer a gig, not only are you're not just getting embeds from whatever, which in Fiverr, I don't know what it is that they offer. Like, I can't say anything bad about them. They may have a great service. I don't know. I can tell you about Dedhia. I can tell you about Dedhia and how great his stuff is, how it's aged, how it's themed, how it's niche relevant, and how he's been able to build up age, trust, and authority over time because of the way that he does things. He takes the time to go ahead and theme it and make sure that when your iframe goes out, whatever it is, that it's relevant. It's like your plumbing video isn't going to go into something about entertainment. Let's just say, just as an example, it's going to go into the plumbing niche and into plumbing categories, whatever it might be. So, and when he hits it with link building, the links are going to be relevant also.
Yeah.
And so all of that put together, like, I don't know who else could take the time for $5, $10, $15, $20 to do all that.
I agree. Quality is better than quantity, in my opinion. Relevancy is better than quantity. So, okay. So next is Don. He says, how can I best use what you guys do on an e-commerce website to create more traffic and sales? Do you have anything that goes down this rabbit hole to increase my sales? I know we don't have any training specifically for e-commerce stuff because none of us really do any e-commerce stuff. But you can still use silo architecture essentially to push relevancy and power and help with search engine ranking. And that's, I mean, you know, again, I haven't done any e-commerce stuff in many, many years now. So I don't know if much of that has changed, but in my opinion, it would still be, you know, should be similar, somewhat the same, in that you can still build out, like, for example, like use a drive stack where you have your categories and your product categories, right, would be their own silos or folders within the main drive stack, right? And you can mirror that with a G site, and you can hit all of that stuff, all of those files within a particular product category that would be within a specific folder, right? That's the silo within the drive stack. All of the files within that folder would be pointing to your product pages and or category page for that on your e-commerce site, right? Then you mirror that on the G site, right? So the Google site now has pages that are specific to your product category pages on your e-commerce site, and you have supporting articles within there. And again, that can all be done via the script, which, or at least when we built it originally, right? But you have to go in and manually add the additional product categories and stuff. We talk about that. We're not able to do that yet or provide that yet. But you would have individual pages and in supporting articles that would be pointing to that product category from the G site. Now you hit those with, kitchen sink spam. Like essentially you can throw everything under the sun at the Drive Stack and the G site. And all of that stuff will push through from the Google properties to your e-commerce site, which should help you in search engines. Again, I don't do any e-commerce stuff, so I don't know how effective that is, but the principles should be the same as what they are for any type of site. Marco, am I wrong?
No, the principles work for anything. If you get a syndication, for example, a syndication network, right? Or if you go into Syndication Academy, if you go into the group so that you can learn to do it on your own, the principles are the same because you're going to use it on your e-commerce store, number one, to validate and solidify the brand. You're going to tell Google, this is my footprint, this is where everything is. You're going to use your schema to further solidify the entity. You're going to take all that and then you could, if you were in that group, also take the ad ID process and use that, right? And so everything comes together. So you build the entity first, and once you have your entity together, where you're telling Google, this is everything that my site is about. That's when you go the extra step and you bring in the sledgehammer, which is that Drive Stack, and then you do the link building, or you could do the press releases into the Drive Stack, and then you link build into the press release and the Drive Stack, and the Drive Stack will have everything about your entity also. So link building into all of that, and that all of that power will push over to your website, and that's what actually all of that power being pushed into your money site. It's what's going to push it up for whatever it is that you're trying to do. But it does take that work, and it doesn't matter if it's local, it doesn't matter if it's e-commerce, affiliate, whatever it is that you're doing, because I always say local is relevant, and this is one of those places where your e-commerce and it could be global, but it doesn't matter because we work with basic semantic web principles.
There you go. Greg's up. He says, took on client with large volume of co-working spaces for rent, where the client will rent an entire floor, i.e. Suite 2500. And currently their tenants on that floor use that address. USPS mail is sorted in-house. But at some point when the tenants start to do GMB marketing, will there be a mess when the same address starts to show up in Google Maps? And to nip it in the bud, would it be advisable to tell the clients to start to register with the USPS their tenants with the unique address 2501, 2502? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would do that because, or even, 2500A, 2500B, or whatever. Any way that you can, that's all that needs to be unique, by the way, right? It can be the same street address, and the suite number should be unique though, right? Is my point. And like with and Greg, yeah, you know that, right? You do know that, and that's good. I'm glad that you brought that up because I would recommend absolutely doing that, is starting that now before they start registering any GMBs, because yeah, that's going to create ambiguity. I always have a hard time saying that word, right? It's going to ambiguate the data. Even if you have unique business names and unique phone numbers and unique web addresses, if they all have the same suite number, or street address plus suite number, that's going to cause NAP issues. Like, that's critically important, and it's going to dilute the data for all the businesses that are trying to use that same suite number. Does that make sense? So again, it's really, really important. The only time out of all of those, we always talk about name, address, and phone number, but that also, as part of an NAP, it really does include the web address, right? So we're really talking about 4 data points. And for locals especially, the only thing that I ever recommend that you can keep the same is a brand name, right? If you're going to have multiple locations, the brand name can still be the same unless they're really, really close together in proximity, in which case I recommend that you add a modifier And we've had a discussion about this in the mastermind recently, but adding something like north, south, east, and west, or some sort of modifier to describe, to kind of disambiguate what that specific location is, if that makes sense. But a brand name can be the same as long as the street address or the physical address, the phone number and the web address are unique. Now, I've seen people use the same web address too, like for multiple locations, but I don't recommend that because you can use the same domain, but I recommend, obviously we teach using subdomains, but you can have inner pages as specific location pages. Each location should have its own unique landing page. That all said, that's different physical addresses, different phone numbers, right? And that's all for the same brand. But if you're going to have multiple business names or companies, right, trying to use the same physical address with the same suite number, that's going to create a lot of problems for all of those businesses. So I would absolutely recommend that you would instruct them to change their, naming convention or street addressing convention to where they have individual or unique suite numbers per business locate. Even if it's on the same suite floor, right? Each business should have its own unique suite number. And then that should solve any potential issues with, ambiguation. That's a great question though, Greg. Pum says, should I just keep the same URL structure for my client site since it's already ranking and that might change the rankings? Yeah, I don't recommend changing that. That's a pretty significant change. I mean, it depends. Yes, if you change a URL structure, sometimes it will cause it to do some dancing. It depends on what else you're doing to the site though. Because obviously if a site needs a structural overhaul for SEO purposes, then I recommend putting up with some short-term loss for the longer-term gain, which would mean if you're going to restructure a site to silo it correctly, then yes, even if you had ranking pages, a lot of the times when you restructure, if you significantly change the structure of a site, you're going to see dancing. But if you're doing it which means if they're currently ranking well, they may see it go through, it's likely that they'll go through a point where their pages won't rank as well. However, you got to think about it more on the long term, right? Can you endure some short-term pain for long-term gain? I would always opt for yes. Does that make sense? Because a stronger or a better structured site is going to produce longer term and better results overall than dealing with just leads now. Like in other words, just getting results now. In time, those results could fall because the site's not structured as well as some of your competitors, if that makes sense. So again, it just depends. I can't give you a solid answer on that because I don't know how much overhauling you need to do for your client site. If it's ranking well and the site is structured decently, then you can always do bolt-on silos, right? What I mean by that is you can start to silo the website by building, anything new on the site would be in proper silo structure, but you leave existing the way that it is. Like that's something else that you can do. Okay. Lori, hey Lori, she says, hey guys, good to be on summer break and back on Hump Day Hangouts. So Lori was one of our longtime mastermind members who ended up taking a teaching gig, I believe, which was a long-time dream of hers. And she's back to just come check us out. Hey, glad to have you back, Lori. We definitely miss you in the mastermind. Muhammad says, hey guys, I saw an opportunity here and I'm back for another question. A while ago, BB showed me that I could still have a syndication network for a Clickfunnels non-WordPress site. Is this something I should go out of my way to do considering I don't use WordPress sites much anymore? Yeah, absolutely. I still recommend that, guys. Even if you're not syndicating, well, look, even if you're not syndicating content, I've seen firsthand with my most recent business that I launched how powerful syndication networks truly are, even if you're not syndicating content. And I talked about this before, but I created a new business and I had branded it. And all I have is a Clickfunnels. Essentially, it's a landing page and a thank you page, right? It's a lead generation style page. So it's just a single page Clickfunnels landing page. And then when somebody opts in, it goes to a thank you page. That's it. So it's not a WordPress site. And I had registered it. I've got a brand, an exact match brand domain, not an exact match keyword, but an exact match brand domain. And that's the name, obviously the name of the business as well. And it's similar, that business name is similar to other businesses in the same industry in that it's a unique name, but there are a lot of other businesses out there with similar names. And so that ClickFunnels page was indexed, but it was like on page 2 and 3. It would never, and I'm talking like the bottom of page 2 and most of the time on page 3 somewhere. And then all I did was I had one of my VAs build me a syndication network for that brand. And so a lot of the subdomains, obviously, on the syndication network properties were named after my brand name and all that kind of stuff. And they all linked back to it. I didn't do any content syndication. It's a ClickFunnels page. You can't syndicate from there. Now, I do have a blog.subdomain that is a WordPress site, but I've only syndicated 2 posts now. Before any of that was even done, though, is what I'm saying. The syndication network was linked back to just the ClickFunnels page, which was on the root domain. And within 3 days, I was #1 for brand search. So I'm saying before, for my brand name search, it was on page 2, bottom of page 2, most of the time on page 3. Just connecting a syndication network to it, having it built, connect and linking back to it, interlinking all those properties just exactly the way we teach or the way that you get them if you purchase it done for your network. Within 3 days, it might have been 5 days. I think I had it delivered on Thursday and I checked it on Monday. And for a brand name search, I was #1 in Google for that brand name search. Only thing that was different was having that syndication network built. So yes, absolutely, you should use it. That said, there's really no reason. Now, I think, Muhammad, I know you're what you've been working on, so I don't know that you would need to do it, but you could always build a blog.subdomain and use that for content marketing to feed the syndication network, even if your syndication network is just linking back to your primary domain or ClickFunnels page in this case, or non-WordPress site, because you could still use content marketing to your advantage, right? Because Google loves that freshness factor and everything else. So why not still use the syndication network, just publish content to it, syndicate content to it via another method, which could be a blog.subdomain. It could be even one of the syndication network sites. You could use WordPress, Blogger, or Tumblr as a blog to actually feed the network, right? So just consider that. There is still benefit, guys, to syndicating content regularly, because you can use it for building backlinks and basically building the theme out, the relevancy, all of that. Okay. All right. Greg says 4 locations in Chicago, 60 suites each. Like to keep them the same brand, but we'll have all unique addresses and phoned. Yeah. Okay. Then I would say, yeah, I imagine that would work. Okay. It looks like we're just about done anyways. I'm just about out of time. So any other thing that we need to cover, guys, or can we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Got a couple questions about POFU Live already, and just to let everyone know, tickets will be going on sale as early as next week. So just keep your eyes and ears open. And if you're interested in finding out more, you already know you're on board. Once you hear about that, make sure you grab your ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I see Logan posted one more, and since we're not at 5 p.m. yet, I'm going to go ahead and answer it. Logan says, if we have a large website with thousands of pages and want to add pages for each location, hundreds of locations, should we make each location a subdomain? No, in that case, Logan, absolutely not. Let me clarify what I said earlier. If you're only doing a handful of sites, locations, if you only have a handful of locations or it's going to grow slowly, then I recommend using subdomains. And there's a reason for that, because subdomains are treated by Google as standalone web entities, even though they might be part of an overall brand or larger brand. It's a way to protect potential problems if any one of your locations were to catch a penalty. Now, we don't, fortunately, and knock on wood, I haven't experienced any sort of penalties for years now. And again, knock on wood, so I haven't had to experience any sort of loss from having inner pages or even losing subdomains for that matter. But I'm always trying to mitigate potential risk, right? Trying to prevent catastrophe. And so if you have locations on subdomains in any one of, you do something spammy, or even if you don't do something spammy, but Google determines that it doesn't like one of the locations for some reason, it levies a penalties or de-indexes it, something like that, it's going to only affect that one particular subdomain. It doesn't affect the root, and it doesn't affect what I call the sibling subdomains, right? But if you've got dozens or hundreds, like you said, of locations, that becomes a management nightmare trying to deal with that many subdomains. So unless you were just doing a subdomain redirect to, standalone entities of some sort or whatever, then that's different. But again, that's a little bit more complicated than what I want to get into. if you've got dozens or hundreds of locations, then I would recommend you do that as inner pages of the website, of the root domain. But just be cautious, because remember, if you catch a penalty on an inner page, it's going to affect the root domain and all of the other pages. Does that make sense? So that's why I recommend, for people that are working on a smaller scale, working with subdomains, because it's safer. You can reduce risk or exposure. I'd like to call it reducing exposure that way. But again, in your case, you said subdomain or regular file structure. I would go with a regular file structure. Okay. Hundreds of locations, it would absolutely be a nightmare trying to manage that many subdomains. All right. I think everybody else bailed. It's just Marco and I. See you, Marco.
All right, man. Bye, everyone.